What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome on in to the Brass Ring Media podcast for Thursday, May 15th, 2025. How's it going? I'm your host, Zach Haydorn. That is your other host over there. That's Tyler Sage. Tyler, what's going on, dude?
Hey, not much. Just here to talk a little Anarchy, I guess. I don't know. I had no
Anarchy, baby. It's all about the Anarchy coming out of AEW Dynamite last night. Yeah. I mean, I don't know, man. I'm kind of just on the whole Anarchy in the arena thing. But at the same time,
well, here's the thing. Is it hell in a cell if there's not much like damage to your physical body? Is it an anarchy in the arena if it's scheduled every year? You know, this is like a very big wrestling trope of like, cool name, or like if you have like a metal band, would be like, you know, kill in the mosh pit, and then they're like call for security. They call for medical team to come in when someone falls down in the mosh pit. You know?
That's right.
You gotta live the gimmick.
Yeah, and I just honestly like I don't know yet if it's just me that's like, or it sounds like you're a little bit fatigued with Anarchy in the arena, but we'll give credit where credit is due. I mean, they've been building this Anarchy in the arena match on television for weeks, you know? So I give them credit for that. It doesn't seem like, you know, a rush job just to get an Anarchy in the arena match in. Like I do feel like that they've put in some elbow grease to actually make this to actually make it seem worthy for Anarchy in the arena. I guess I'm just kind of over the concept in general at this point. But again, I can stipulate to, you know, they've put the effort in to make this feel like, you know, it needs Anarchy in the arena.
Yeah, and it's not the route. I mean, I guess Death Rider is. I prefer this route than the Bucks and Okada teaming up with Jon Moxley and like Claudio. That's kind of what I thought was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So, or maybe it will still. Right? What are the teams?
Do we know that the Young Bucks aren't in this?
Yeah, I guess they are because they were there at the end of the show last night. I guess I'm still just thinking Death Riders or Pac's injured. So never mind. Yeah, even worse. Even worse take on that for me thinking about this out loud. So
I'm just trying to think like.
At least Okada's not part of
it. He's not. See, like I'm wondering if they're going to add more people in, because right now we've got on the Death Rider side Jon Moxley, Claudio, Marina Shafir, right? Because they're going to do the women in this. I'm assuming.
Yeah, Willow and Shafir.
Wait. Let's just do the Death Rider side first. Yeah. Otherwise, my brain is going to like just. So we've got Jon Moxley, we've got Claudio, we've got Wheeler Yuta, we've got Marina Shafir, Gabe Kidd.
Yeah,
I mean that's 5.
Yeah, so that's not the Bucks, right?
And that's not the Bucks or.
Now they can still they don't have a match scheduled, so I think they will be involved. But they're not like officially in the match, I think.
Yeah. So we got Zach here who I mean, I'm looking at like AEW Twitter right now, and there's no official like graphic for Anarchy in the arena yet. So, you know, be that as it may, I don't think necessarily it's been like officially announced. So this could change, but Zach's got it mapped out here. Death Riders plus Marina Shafir, Young Bucks, and Gabe Kidd against Ops, Swerve, Kenny Omega, and Willow. That's a lot. That's a lot of people. That is a lot of people. I think I'd prefer the 5-on-5, honestly, without the Bucks.
Yeah, for sure.
So I don't know which way it's going to go. You know, it seems like both of these are on the, you know, are on the docket to potentially happen. But Okada not involved in either scenario.
Yeah, so it's 6 people then per team, if I'm reading this correctly.
So let's see here. Death Riders is 3, 4, 6. Yeah. No, 7. 7.
Yeah, I mean there's no way it's 7.
This would be 7-on-7, provided Hook comes back.
Yeah. Well, Hook and Pac aren't involved, so it's.
Oh, okay. So Pac's not involved.
That's 6 because 5 and then one.
Yeah,
which is still pretty unacceptable. That's like too much going on.
Yeah, 6 is a lot, man. 6 is a lot for something like this, especially the way they shoot it, because they kind of, they go all over the arena, and it's almost like little singles matches, that are everywhere. I mean, so that's a lot that that's a lot that you have to shoot,
Yeah.
I don't know.
We'll
I don't know. I'm mixed on it. I'm also mixed on it because it seemed like, actually, you know what? In Zach's, he did have Swerve. Okay. Last night I was in the building, and I will say this, so I went to Collision last year, and a Dynamite last year at the Now Arena. And man, and I commented on this I wrote this yesterday on social media. Those shows last year were like ghost towns, man. It was like AEW zombie fans walking around, just kind of in the building, but they didn't seem excited. There was no vibe. You could just walk up to the merch line and buy some stuff. There was just it was kind of sad. It was kind of sad. It was just like, man, you rewind 4 years, 5 years, and how hot that building was for the first All Out or All In, or even other episodes of Dynamite. And then, you're here in 2024, and it's just like, oh man, something's off. Something's definitely off. So I was wondering what the environment would be like yesterday at the show. And it was actually quite different. There was definitely a bigger buzz there. There was definitely more excitement, more energy, top to bottom, even for the Collision show, which was kind of lame that they taped afterwards. There was just overall more energy in that audience. So I think that alone kind of tells you some strides that AEW has made. But I say that though, because the crowd was hot for that final angle, the final angle with Swerve, big pop for him, Okada kind of got a pop, which, I don't think they necessarily wanted. Kenny, big reaction. So that's why when I was watching it, I was like, I'm kind of over the Anarchy in the Arena topic, but boy, it seemed like people were interested in this, collectively.
Yeah. I mean, what, Leo Rush got a shut the F up chant, which tells you that the product's over, when the most inconsequential thing on the show was getting some crowd participation. So I think that tracks. I was going to ask you if you were there and how it was, because it felt, different certainly than, the last, 3 months. It felt different.
Yeah.
Than the down times of AEW. Really, ever since, what was that one crowd where they were almost not helpful? It wasn't. Was it Detroit? No, they were just in Detroit. It was a smaller.
Christi. We always make fun of Corpus Christi.
Yeah, it was a smaller venue, a ballroom type thing, but the crowd was really into it, and that was it felt like a turning point in the crowd for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the crowd was certainly over with a lot of the stuff last night, so which helps.
Yeah, it definitely helps. All right, let's pause real quick. Let's set the table for the show today. This is the Brass Ring Media Podcast. We're live with this show twice a week. Our first show is on Tuesdays, and we spend a lot of time talking this week on Tuesday about Sabu. We talked about Monday Night Raw, talked a little bit about Money in the Bank, and what we can see and what we can predict, or look ahead at regarding that show. So our fun kind of WWE focused show usually is on Tuesdays. You can check that out right now on the Brass Ring Media YouTube channel and wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Brass Ring Media where you get your podcasts. All shows that air live on Brass Ring Media's YouTube channel also air as audio podcasts. So make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can catch everything live and catch all the other stuff that we drop on the channel. But make sure you subscribe on your podcast app as well so that you can take us on the go if for some reason you miss us live. Once again, just search Brass Ring Media in your favorite podcast app, and we will we'll pop right up. Also, we offer membership. That's right. Patreon.com/Brass Ring Media. We could not do what we do without our members, and we try to work really hard to make sure that we give as much value back as we can to all of our members. So it's $4 a month to get in on the membership action. With that, you get a member-only podcast once a week. You get all of our pay-per-view and PLE review shows, including the one we did on Monday for WWE Backlash. So that's there waiting for you. Plus, you get access to our Discord community with all of our members hanging out, talking wrestling, talking life, really fun, as well as other stuff. So once again, it's patreon.com/BrashRingMedia. We also have a higher tier gold membership, which comes with all sorts of other perks. And big thank you to our gold members, Sean Pelikta, Andrew H., and Adam Kidd. Thank you guys so much for that. We appreciate it. If you're watching on YouTube right now, hello. If you're watching on Rob Van Dam's Twitter, hello to you guys as well. The live chat is open. YouTube is still having issues with the super chats, so we don't have super chats. So just, go nuts in the live chat. Now's your chance to do that. Cool. All right. Let me get some comments here. Sean says here, wow, then the Bucks will be involved. Just not excited about this. So dig into that a little bit deeper, Tyler. Why is the Bucks involvement in this make you less excited than if they were not?
I guess from a non-bias, analyzing this as a creative product, certainly feels like they're shoehorned into this. And I know they've done the work to have them come out and want to work with Jon Moxley, etc. But I still don't think the other side of that equation has been fulfilled. And we have one more episode of Dynamite to tell the story. But I don't know. It just feels like they're an ununified team that's going to be pretty powerful in the moment. From a kayfabe perspective in the ring, and I just feel like that's not earned, would be the totally neutral reaction to that, and that's part of it. Also, it's the Young Bucks, right? And they're gone for a while. They come back. Yeah, it's not over. They're not over, and they're in this. When you look at everything else, I mean, just it's a team of over people versus a team of people who are not over, right? So it's for someone to be added to the Death Riders, it'd be better if FTR was added. At least they're over his heels currently, and are being bastards across the board. Mm-hmm. So it's one of those things where it's when someone drops out and you get someone else in that spot, and it's better than the original booking. That's what you want to do as a promoter. This feels like the opposite to me. It just hasn't been them as involved in the story. I mean, honestly, I watched it last night. I remember them there, and already at the top of the show, assumed they weren't in this because it just feels like they're disconnected from this. So, combination of not an overact, disconnected from the story, not really a good story told from the heel perspective here on why this is important to them. So, and that also goes to the Anarchy of the Arena. Hey, this is scheduled, so we'll shoehorn stuff into this. It does not feel like this feud is at the point where you need this sort of match more so than ever before.
Yeah, I agree with that. It kind of feels to me they worked their way backwards from, we want somebody to interfere in the Swerve Strickland Jon Moxley title match because we don't want to put the title on Swerve and we don't want him to do a clean job. Mm-hmm. And it seemed once you decide that, then it's who makes sense to best be that? And in this instance, it kind of felt like they just went with the Young Bucks and then decided, okay, well, because we did that, now we're going to do all these other things that only kind of makes sense. Because Zach has a point here. The Bucks have been feuding with Swerve and Omega. That feud is intersected with the Ops and Willow and the Death Riders. And it has. It just doesn't mean that it's intersected successfully. And I would argue that it hasn't. It's intersected, yes, but it hasn't intersected very seamlessly or in a way. It just seems again, we have to jump through this hoop and go through it because we needed the Young Bucks to interfere in this match. And so, there we go. Now we're here rather than it naturally be a partnership. Because really, when you think about it, if you break it down, the Young Bucks and the Death Riders really shouldn't have anything to do with one another, really. The Death Riders are essentially, fighting against them, and against AEW and against a lot of what the Young Bucks are exactly what, Moxley says that he is trying to destroy about AEW from a storyline perspective. So, yeah, Zach, I mean, I get what you're saying, and you're right. They've intersected, but it doesn't mean that they've intersected logically or in a smart way.
Because, like, the Bucks are in this because they want to hurt Kenny Omega and Swerve.
Yeah, or like I guess it's because they're trying to. To me, it's like if I were gonna. Now I don't. I'm just giving you an answer. I think what they're trying to go for is like they're in this to try to keep appeasing the dangerous Death Rider group. You know, so like we're with you guys. We're with you. We're not getting in your way. You know, we're gonna help. We'll help you do this. You know, we're good. We're good. It's not a good answer, but
they hurt people, right? That's what they're doing.
They hurt people. Yeah, they hurt people.
They're just a bad MJF version.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I take away. Now, again, that doesn't make it good. It just makes it what it is.
Mm-hmm. It's just like to me as a fan, it's like, hey, this match is on the books and this is how it's happening. It's a lot like a Survivor Series match of like, hey, we're good guys, they're bad guys. We'll do this match, even if it doesn't really make sense why we're on teams.
Yeah.
So it's just like that sort of vibe.
Where, and I continue not to like this concept because it's why I didn't like Survivor Series either. And only recently with a couple of the War Games matches, but not even all of them. Like it's just there's just no stakes. So it's like, okay, so you win this big match and then what? Like who cares? Like, you know, okay, so now what? Like I don't know. I just don't I don't like that part of these big multi-person matches because rarely can you even find something to put on the line in this that makes sense? Because there's no, or thank God there's no 7-man tag team titles. Like, you know, like it just, so yeah, it just kind of is missing. It's missing that too for me. What's up, Universal? Universal here saying, hello, gentlemen. I used to like AEW when it was good. It's now very hard to watch. We'll dig deeper on that one, Universal. Let's talk about some specifics. Drop them in. Would love to hear what is what's bothering you. I will. Well, here, let me ask another question about last night's angle. The Gabe Kidd kind of integrating himself into the Death Riders. What do you think of that addition? And you know, is it an addition because Pac is gone, or is it just, you know, we like the idea of Gabe Kidd in it along with Pac? Like I think it's probably a little bit of both, but he kind of fits the vibe, I think, from like a, you know, faction perspective.
Yeah. Well, it seems like he's on the Ospreay route, like from signing with the company perspective.
Yeah.
Like, if they pay half the salary, New Japan lets him work there a lot, and then knowing them and how they're structured currently, his contract's up halfway through the year or at the end of this year, or it can be broken at any point because they don't really care about retaining any talent in that company at the moment.
That's crazy.
But yeah, that's what it seems like from a just perspective. And it seems like, hey, if you want to do a Forbidden Door where he's still part of New Japan, you could do like him and Moxley if they fall apart and maybe he's not a good Death Rider and maybe is part of why he loses, and that can be like your Forbidden Door match that those two work. Or you schedule, you know, Ospreay and Gabe Kidd if you continue that feud. So I think there's a couple options there, and that's the real reason why, is to get some good matches out of Kidd, to give him the Ospreay Fletcher treatment before he comes over full time, and not do the Jay White treatment.
Yeah, right.
That's more the here. And he fits, right? He's a badass guy who you want to reestablish and establish as a heel and a badass. So it makes sense.
Yeah, he definitely fits. And the issue is like, you know, look, a lot of that crowd, based on the play along stuff that they did yesterday, like during commercial breaks, asking people, have you been to an AEW show before? Blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. Most of them had, but most of them did not know who it was that interfered. Like, I would say it was like maybe 20% of the audience kind of knew who it was. And even that 20%, the reaction was tempered because there's a huge cage in the way. You know, they didn't show it well on TV. So, you know, they have some work to do with Gabe Kidd. But if you know him and you know his work, you know, he's a he's a good fit, I think, for the Death Riders.
Yeah. Yeah, like your perspective there, was it on the level of the Super Smash Bros, aka Dark Order, coming in at Double or Nothing 2019, or the grizzled young veterans appearing at whenever that happened, to like no crowd reaction for either?
I think it was better than the Dark Order, but it was a worse reaction. Like grizzled young vets got a better reaction than
it's not good. Not good.
So, like, again, they got some work to do. They can't treat him like he's not Will Ospreay. You know, Will Ospreay was a pretty world-renowned guy at that point, and Gabe Kidd isn't. Talented, yes, but no, not on that, not even that close to on that level. But maybe Moxley can help make him. You know, I mean, that's a good. Again, it makes sense. It makes sense. Let me get some chats here. Let's see. Zach says here, I enjoyed the main event. The rope break was mind-bogglingly ridiculous. The bigger problem was nobody believed Joe had a chance of winning. Yeah, that was a huge issue. I liked the main event. I thought it was like a fine, bloody, cage match that wasn't like spot heavy. It wasn't like filled with like crazy high spots or anything, but it was more of just like a brutal, violent, heavy striking cage match, which I like those kind of matches. So I was partial to it, but there was some stuff here, as Sean says here, the main event wasn't good because of a lot of the dumb rules. A rope break. Yeah, like the rope break was like, wait, it's a cage match. What are we doing? So that was a big miss. But I think once I get past that, Sean, I enjoyed it. What do you think, Tyler?
Yeah, I think this is a good TV main event.
Yeah.
I'm glad this is not a pay-per-view thing. I'd be way more harsh if they tried to close pay-per-view with this, which is like tough because Joe is, 3 champions removed from Jon Moxley, so it's not like it's like 10 years ago he was champion and now he's coming back. But yeah, I mean, it had a finish, so I'll give it that credit.
It did.
So in any other major company, I think that would have been a non-finish for some reason. But yeah, I mean, the rope break, yeah, I mean, cage matches suck anyway. Let's be honest with ourselves. I think they are a thing of the past, and as a promoter, I probably would not. Just to me, as a fan, I don't know about anybody else, I'm never, ever excited for a cage match. It obstructs your view, and yeah, you can do maybe a spot off the cage, but beyond that, it's very passé to me as a wrestling fan.
Yeah, I think they went out there like trying to have a different type of cage match because again, there wasn't like trying to think of like they even do 10 moves to each other. Like I don't even know. Like it seemed like a lot of it was just punching, whip, clothesline, clothesline in the corner, blood, throw you into like a lot of it was that.
Mm-hmm.
But it seemed like the crowd enjoyed it, and there was like fire up moments for Joe. When the crowd got behind him, but you never got the sense that that Joe was going to win. Obviously,
yeah, for sure.
Now I will say this: Jon Moxley. I know that the Death Rider angle gets some heat, and I've given it some, but I've also kind of cautioned folks to just, and this is my opinion, like to just let it happen, because the longer it goes at this point, like the better of a chance that you have for the audience to really be hot for him to lose the championship at a point where you think he might, like Swerve, at Dynasty, right? People were really ready and really excited, and it made that match more fun. He had some heat finally, and I don't sense it too often when I'm watching on TV, but being in the building, like he was straight up booed. Like there was nothing, like there was no cheering of Jon Moxley, and it wasn't really sitting on their hands either. Like it was pretty consistent, like negative heat. So, again, you've got a couple months here before you do the Ospreay match, and I think a couple more title wins or Moxley retains his title a couple more times. I think that they have a chance to just have an audience that's really against the heel, like invested in seeing Jon Moxley lose. And if they have that and they do it right, in my mind, the pain of like seeing the Death Riders the last few months will be worth it. That's my stance after having seen it last night. So we'll see. They got a little bit more to go.
Yeah, on this, they don't have a June pay-per-view, do they? Right? It's Double or Nothing and then All In.
I think they have. Isn't Forbidden Door in June?
I think it's in August, right? That's the Wembley replacement.
Oh, that's right. Okay. So yeah. So no, right.
Yeah. I mean, here's what I'm doing. I'm with like most of the people in the chat here. I think you're right. Moxley is getting some heat finally because he's kind of looked like an inept heel who like needs his guys and looks kind of like a buffoon in there when he's like by himself and has to run away, which is good, right? Him not looking like just a total badass who goes out and beats everybody up is not a good way to get booed as a heel, right? But so that's like one transition that's happening currently, plus the kind of go away heat and being the worst long-term story the company's ever told. That or the MJF Adam Cole stuff. I don't know which is longer at this point, but it's probably number 2 to the MJF Adam Cole stuff. But so that's a lot of your heat as well. Here's what I'm doing if I'm Tony Khan. Like, it depends on how good of a match, which I think it should be like a 4.5-star minimum match between Hangman Page and Will Ospreay. Like, there's a lot of time here. Let's say Will Ospreay wins. Obviously, we'll talk about what happened in that match. There's some natural animosity between those two that works, I think, for everybody in the chat. That seems to be the consensus. And what if, like, Moxley defends his title against Adam Page? Adam Page somehow wins on TV, is the champion to get that rematch against Will Ospreay at All In for, number 2 if he loses. And then it's like, hey, that's a real moment where, like, oh, maybe Page will win because he just won the title. He's not going to lose the title right away. Like, all that sort of stuff would work way better for me. And, we can work out what that looks like. But it is crazy. Like, we're like, oh, it's still 2 months away. We're going to get 2 more months of Jon Moxley as world champion. It seemed crazy 4 months ago or 2 months ago when it was 4 months of this. It still seems crazy when we got 2 months left of this. And I still contend, which I don't think it'll happen. But if they're like holding off for a Darby Allin return and like Will Ospreay loses this and Moxley's still the champion at the end as like a swerve sort of situation, as a guy who likes a swerve, it is still like company killing to make that move. So I don't like a finish WWE to AEW of like the biggest event you have of the year with a 100% or 99.9% certainty finish. So I would advocate for, if this match is tremendous between Page and Will Ospreay, for Adam Page somehow to challenge Jon Moxley and beat him, and then have a rematch later. So,
yeah, we're gonna definitely want to do more on Hangman and Ospreay because that was really good last night. I guess like I don't know. I guess I disagree with much of the chat here, and you, but like not entirely. I just think that's like.
I mean, so like, if you can't tell, I'm basically like giving as much effort as I can talking about this main event last night. I could care less about any of this. And the Anarchy of the Arena, and I'm like the biggest Horse Strickland fan in the world. It's because it's Jon Moxley. I think the rest of the company is like at such a good spot with what you have in the first segment of the show. I love the MJF stuff going on. I like what FTR is doing. I like Swerve. I'm excited for Kenny and Okada. Like, everything is working for me pretty much, except for anything with 3+ titles, 3+ guys as champions, or the world title. So that's like my if you can't tell, that's why I want it done as soon as possible and don't want to like just give up 2 more months of AEW content to be like, well, this is really good, you should watch it, but the main event sucks. So don't worry about that. When I try and like convince people in my life to watch AEW, that's like the struggle I have.
But here's the thing though that I'll put back on you. Like when AEW turned this corner, and when it started to get, and I will, Sean, I'm gonna paint this picture for everybody right now. Sean says here, why do you like this angle? Help us see why. I'm going to. Here's the thing. When you pinpoint like, okay, this is kind of when we started to see positive momentum for AEW, right? To me, that it starts with a consistent and, yes, maybe a little bit boring, but a correctly defined world champion. I mean, you had moments where like Swerve is good because like he's all the guys that you mentioned, Swerve, Will Ospreay, Adam Page, MJF, all of them. They're fine on their own, like just as talents and as stars. But to me, like when the show came together, it's that you have all those guys and you have them chasing down this top heel champion, and everybody's pointing at that. And like, I think that Jon Moxley, albeit a little bit boring, has played like the Roman Reigns card a little bit, where it's he's at the top. Yeah, his matches are kind of like just okay. Yeah, they're kind of boring, and you know he's gonna win, but like it helps everybody else because they've all got something to talk about. They all got something to react to. They all have something to push towards, and the show can then revolve around that. I just don't think it's an accident that you get a more fleshed out show and a more coherent show and a more interesting show, like with Jon Moxley, like solidified in that role. And my point is not that, like, I don't know that I'm not grading it just like I'm looking at this and do I like Jon Moxley matches better than everything else on the show? Mm-hmm. Of course not. Definitely not. Like, I'm not looking at it going, Jon Moxley is the best character on the show or the most over character on the show. But what I think that they've done is that they've created a world that just clicks better. And I think you've taken two steps back in some ways to take a giant leap forward when Will Ospreay or Adam Page or whoever it is beats Jon Moxley for the championship. But the bottom line is, I just don't think you can just discount the value that Moxley's had in that role for making the show around him better, because the timelines match up. What say you?
Well, when would you say the show turned the corner?
Once he actually started being a heel, like once they kind of dropped the Moxley's coming in and like he owns AEW and there's like this other higher power and it's Shane McMahon and all this BS. Like once that subsided and like AEW has decided like, yeah, that sucks. Like we're just going to have Moxley be a heel and he's going to run away and he's going to just be a heel and he's going to get heat and he's going to beat guys. That's when I think it started to because like how would you want, and I asked everybody in the chat this, everybody who's kind of down on this, like how would you want a heel champion in AEW to be one that does not get cheered? I mean, like you have to like be able to answer that question, I think, in order to like, I would like to hear you guys answer that question in order to like really rag on this, because it's like, he's doing what he has to do, like to not get cheered. And I think, you look at it's not just in AEW, it's in both companies, and it's really bad in WWE right now, where it's like you don't have like this kind of deep investment in somebody winning or losing because people kind of just are able to pick and choose. And I just don't think that's the best environment. So here they've created an environment where you are choosing against Jon Moxley, and I think that inherently just helps the whole show.
Mm-hmm. So we're like 30% agree with you and 70% disagree with you on this in general. Okay. But I think it's a good well laid out argument. I would say like January is probably what you're pinpointing, somewhere in that range, like mid-January, late January, is like that point where it feels like the show flips.
Yeah, because like, don't you think like at some point like his run, whether you like it or not, take that out of it. There was a point where it was like it just wasn't working because it was all nonsense. It was like he's cutting these like promos that are like kind of out of left field. They don't really make a lot of sense and blah blah blah. And finally, it just was like, no, yeah, he's just a regular heel, and it just worked better.
Everything from the moment he beat Danielson to like the beginning of the Cope feud, none of it worked.
Yes,
and the Cope feud. Yeah. The Cope feud made sense. Like, was it exciting? No. Was it a good match? Was it a series of good matches? No. Minus the spikes, which was crazy.
All true.
Yes. But like, it made sense as a story, and that was the first time a Moxley Death Riders thing made sense as a story. And yeah, that's kind of around the show. That might be February, so late January, early February for that zone. Maybe I'm way off on that, but yeah, it feels in that way. And like I do agree, like the booking around the show, like it's given Tony a way to like book everything else and like have this placeholder / thing to move off the board for that babyface to come in, and it allows all these baby faces to do stuff independently of the world title, which is something that WWE's been really good at for a long time, is getting people over, not just chasing a world title. And then like when you win that world title, it's kind of like, okay, what do we do next? Kofi, Daniel Bryan every time he won it.
Yeah.
Punk every time he won it, if we're honest with ourselves and his WWE runs prior and
for sure Punk. Definitely.
So like that's a positive. I will just disagree the other 70% of like that is good. Like it's been good practice for Tony Khan to be like, hey, this is, and I agree. It's like, that's the heel in 2025 you have to be to get over as a heel. So no argument on that front too, because unless you have Don Callis or somebody else who's with you, like Kyle Fletcher in this role is going to be the inversion of Jon Moxley, where he's going to get booed, but eventually going to get cheered tremendously because he's so good in the ring. And there's not really a way to avoid that and like what you do with him unless you have Callis just being
that's part of it too. Yeah.
Master the entire time, which we've seen a lot of that as well. And I don't advocate for that currently in AEW. But the pushback is like, without a doubt, anything Jon Moxley's done on television has been like the worst or second worst segment on the show for the most part during the entire run. So that's like my pushback on like it being, it's like historically probably a pretty memorable run in the company's history. And like an important, like if you're writing a book about the first decade of AEW, it's probably like the middle of the book and a big pivot point on like the booking pattern change of Tony Khan. So it's like a little bit more academic of a view than a nuts and bolts how you feel.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah.
But like, so I think you're right in that academic booking in a vacuum, it works, but it just hasn't worked vibes wise. I guess.
Fun to watch. So yeah, so it begs the question.
It's the reverse of John Cena, I would say, honestly, because it's like I have a fun train wreck to watch, and it feels like I kind of hate it, but I hate like watching and see where it's going. But it's like a disaster booked. Like from a by the book standpoint, it's like one of the worst runs for like a guy at the very end in a retirement run. So it kind of feels opposite to me.
It begs the question, like, can this be working, but also bad at the same time? And I think the answer might, in my mind, the answer would be yes. Like it's bad because it's not always, to your point, the most entertaining thing. And I'm not sitting here arguing that. Mm-hmm. But I do think it's working. And I think, well, to this point, I think they've set it up where it can work if you finish it right. If you finish it right, again, it remains to be seen, right? If you can actually put an exclamation point on this.
Yeah. I do think they have to do a lot of work if it's straight up Moxley and Ospreay, as we all think it's going to be. Really have to do a lot of work to put doubt in the mind of like you probably have to have Darby come back to get the meta fan response and have Darby have a match at All In that's like in a number one contenders match and he wins before. To like really be like, oh my God, Darby won the number one contender match in the same show where the main event is Ospreay.
Yeah, we're worried that
like, oh my God, they're gonna have Moxley win. Oh my God, I can't believe that you have to do that plus the storyline to really make this like juicy, and then in the match have all the near falls, all the run-ins, all the stuff. Don't do Cody Roman 2.
Not Avengers, not the Avengers.
But like that combo, I'm in. Like if we're watching the show, Darby wins, he's number one contender. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna be so nervous for this main event. So like all that sort of stuff, I think has to be done correctly, and they can do that. But yeah, that's my worry as a fan too. So.
Well said. All right, we got some good stuff here. This will be a fun conversation to continue having. As we go along here, I think I really think a good comparison point is the John Cena thing, because I do think it's similar, but in the reverse. Like I don't think. Or it's coming along kind of maybe like it just kind of sucks, but like I do want to watch it whenever it's on TV. But again, I think WWE's trying to build to the same thing with like you have this heel in John Cena that man people are going to want to see him get beat. And to your what you booked on Tuesday is like, all right, John Cena, December is when you say it's over. But man, what if you beat Cody again? Then then people will really be on edge for other ton of matches. So yeah. Let me see here. Let me check my notes. Yeah. Anything else on this? On the Anarchy in the Arena or Mox or anything like that before we move on?
Yeah, I think we should move on to the first match.
Yeah. Real quick, I want to just say that Jim Ross announced today that he has cancer, which is unfortunate.
What kind? Because he had the skin cancer scare a couple years ago.
So, he had the skin cancer scare, but colon cancer. So he's going to have surgery in the next couple of weeks, I think he said in his post on social media. So bummer news. Hopefully he can, turn a corner and beat that. But I don't think we'll see him on TV for a while. So, fingers crossed on that one.
Absolutely.
All right. The opening match last night was Will Ospreay and Adam Page against Takeshita. Oh my God.
And Josh Alexander.
Josh Alexander, thank you. Really good match. I thought it was a really good match. And I thought, to Tracy's point, and Tracy drops a good point in here earlier, she said they've got a good dynamic. Tracy says here, Hangman and Ospreay dynamic is fantastic. I agree with that, Tracy. I thought they did a nice job. I thought they were not like stupid baby faces that, were, we can't get along, blah, blah, blah. But there was tension. And that, to me, is the tone you want to strike. So I give this a thumbs up.
Yeah. The fact I wasn't so pissed at the end of this segment is like tells you how much chemistry they have.
Yeah.
Where, I hate you hate it too. The baby face, like, you hit me. Now you're dead to me. Yeah. But like, they played it well, right? It happened, in the match, the moment happened where it like almost happened, and then they stare each other down, but then they win the match, get to work together. And then it happens again post-match, so it doesn't affect them winning, which I like that little bit of it. And, of anybody, Adam Page is kind of an ornery guy. So it's believable that he would take that a little personal, even if everyone knows it's kind of out of control. So the best way you could do that, and it helped to, like, I don't dislike either of these guys as a viewer. People are going to choose their side. It'll probably be 60-40 Ospreay at that pay-per-view, maybe 70-30.
Yeah.
Probably.
I think that's fair.
I don't know, like, where would you lean if you were just voting on like who you want to see win? And it changes like in the moment too.
For me, it doesn't change too much. I think Ospreay is where you go.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think he's
as a fan, that's who you want. Like, if you're watching that match, not as an analyst who's looking 6 months ahead and like, oh, he's got to beat Moxley, be the champion, etc.
I would say both. I would look at it both ways, because when I look at it from a fan perspective, I think he's fresh. He's like a fresh champion. He hasn't been a world champion before. And he gets the biggest pops. He gets the biggest reactions. He just seems like he's, the embodiment of AEW, like in a wrestling star's body. Like, that's freaking Will Ospreay in 2025. I think you go with that. And then as an analyst, like, a lot of the same reasons, the main one being, he just gets bigger reactions than Page. Again, last night, it's hard to tell. Ospreay was the first guy out, so it's tough to like really gauge that. But I would say that he got a significantly bigger pop than Page, if for whatever that's worth.
Yeah, my analyst parade is 100% Will Ospreay, but I just know, like, if I was in that crowd and I was like deciding, let's go Ospreay, let's go Hangman, I'd probably be on the let's go Hangman if I know myself in that moment.
Okay.
So I don't really have a good reason why that would be the case. It just, it feels like he could have the run he deserved or should have been booked is more maybe what I'm thinking. But yeah, dynamics great between these two. I think this match is going to be, like I said, 4.5 stars minimum. That's like what I'm expecting here. and like it better be the main event. And if it's that good, like, AEW's had a lot of good matches. I would say not a lot of super memorable singles matches. Like if you run through and you take out Bryan Danielson, how many like tremendous singles matches can you like come off that you would like, hey, you got to watch this as like a 4.5 or a 5-star match?
Take out Danielson? Jeez.
Yeah. Because if you take out Danielson, it's like that's like half of them at least.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it really is. Yeah, man. I mean, I put MJF and Will Ospreay up there.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez, I'm like drawing a blank without Danielson.
I would have Paige and Swerve.
Paige and Swerve, yep.
I would have Swerve and Ospreay. But Ospreay and Danielson is his best match in AEW. Ospreay's. Yes. The Dynasty. Yeah. I mean, there's got to be a singles Kenny match probably somewhere in there that but some of his best matches have been multi-man matches in AEW.
That's for sure. No, definitely.
So it's like, one of those things where this could be that answer for like a go-to of like, this is a all-time AEW match, a singles match, right? Tons of moments, tons of 10-guy matches that are really impressive, and like a ton of 4-star matches throughout the quality of insanely good matches is not what I'm saying here, or the quantity of insanely good matches. It's that like, hey, Okada, Omega style. It's Naito and Kenny G1 final. That level of match is, I think there should be more at this point, and this is an opportunity to have one.
I think that's fair. We got, and the other reason I wouldn't go with Hangman is just like, I think we've been there, and like the proof of a title run with Paige is not there. Like it wasn't great. And so I just don't know. That's the part I don't know. And I would just want to try.
Yeah. You could do the reverse booking too that I suggested. Paige wins, then Ospreay sometimes.
Yeah, that would be cool. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Or Swerve gets his rematch clause BS wrestling related stuff and takes out Moxley, and then Swerve and Hangman in the main event somehow.
That's where I thought you could have gone coming out of Dynasty, right? Like if you wanted to do that match, like it was right there for you. It was right there.
And they're like still like respectful, but you have like a match that's not weapon oriented, but it's like two guys just like saying like, hey, leave it all in there. Best man win. Shake hands at the end. That like is a match I would be willing to see and cheer for two different guys too. So
yeah. Adam Kidd, our other gold members in here, says it was well done. That being the interaction between Kenny and Ospreay. And then Adam also says between Hangman and Will, there is no wrong answer. I think you're probably right about that. Adam. Zach says here, it wasn't his fault, Zach. His fault being that Adam Page's title reign wasn't great. Punk came in and overshadowed his run. Well, it's not his fault. It's kind of his fault. I mean, he wasn't champion until after Punk. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. I think Punk came in August of 2021, and Page won the title, in November of that year. So he was there before that.
From Kenny?
From Kenny, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
but, I mean, Punk was still taking a lot of oxygen up at that time.
No, he was. He definitely was. It's just if you're Paige, you're like, yeah, right.
And you had Paige and Cole like twice in that. Am I right on that?
I think they had that. Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah, and looking back on that, you look at that totally differently.
Yeah, that's like his main opponent during that run. I think is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, you're right. Good point. And again, based on what Cole's done, like you just look at that. Totally different. Dude, man. I mean, I know we don't talk about Adam Cole because, like, it's just he's just irrelevant now, and it's kind of sad, but it is what it is. Mm-hmm. Adam Kidd says, "Is this thing on? I'm being ignored." No, I just read 2 of your comments. 2 of them. Two. And you've only made 4, so that's 50%. That's a pretty good average, Adam. That's pretty good average. All right. last but not least, before we wrap up here, I want to just spend a couple minutes on MJF joining the Hurt Syndicate. Man, he's in. Do you think this sticks?
Like,
do you think like he's going to actually have a run in the Hurt business?
Syndicate. Get your copyrights.
Sorry.
Right.
My bad.
WWE has not let that lapse for 15 minutes. Like the Edge trade. I'm gonna pop up Adams.
Don't get very.
I second that. Yeah, MJF sticking. I don't know. What does sticking mean to you? Is that like he's with them through All In, or he's with them through next week?
No. Well, somewhere in the middle. Like, he doesn't have to be there through All In. That's a long time. But like, yes, he has to be there through next week. I'm talking like a run here where you'll be able to look back on it and go, remember that time MJF was in the Hurt business? Hurt Syndicate. God damn.
Yeah. I don't think so. I think there's another shoe to drop here on one side or the other. I don't know what it is. The segment last night, I felt like I missed an episode, and I don't think I did, because it was like, why all of a sudden was he so scared, and they were like going to beat him up, and then they let him in. It was a very strange choice, and I don't know what that means. I think they pivoted on what they were deciding to do. Like what the end of this is, which tells me it's going to be shorter, because like the whole dynamic between both groups has totally changed. And like him and MVP are not as buddy-buddy. Right. And maybe that's a red herring for what's happening. And there's like an MJF business, right? I think they can call it that. And if like MVP is with MJF and two other people, and that's like his stable, and they take out the Hurt Syndicate, that makes more sense to me. So if that's what I think is going to happen, something like that, then I guess that's a no. There's not a run here with Hurt Syndicate. It was good because they're going to go for the trios titles if they do that. I honestly don't know. Is that still the Death Riders that has that? Oh no, the Ops has that. Also, one other question. I'm sorry. Are Dustin and this is a real question? Are Dustin and Sammy the trios Ring of Honor champions, or are they the tag team champions and he had a third belt for some reason?
Here's the thing. I think, and again, somebody check me on this. I think they're both.
Okay.
I think that Sammy and Dustin are the ROH tag team champions, but I think Sammy, Dustin, and somebody else I think Dustin and I want to say maybe the Von Erich brothers are the tag team or the trios champions. So I think Dustin has both, because he was the one with two belts, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I got it. So Dustin is the So
are they the Texas Tornadoes? Is that their team name?
Yeah, isn't that the Sammy Dustin team name?
Yeah, they're both from Texas. I don't know. Who cares? Sorry, I'm sorry you brought this.
It's so bad, dude. It's really, really bad. And Adam Kidd says here, Dustin was bad last night. I thought so too. I thought he really, they called him Grandpa, and he came across as like an old man Grandpa, which he is. But
yeah, he needs to be more unk than Grandpa, and that's
he does, and he was very, very Grandpa-ish yesterday. I'm with you on the Hurt Syndicate thing. Like I last night was weird. I didn't like it. It was a total tone shift. So I'm glad you called that out. It was like, that's weird. And I think that the audience felt that when I was watching everything play out. It kind of seemed like MJF joined the group. And then I think everybody was expecting like an angle, like something to actually go down, like a big time angle. And then just nothing happened. So it really kind of fell flat for as much as it got cheered when he said yes. I think that was like chapter 1, and people were waiting for chapter 2, and chapter 2 just didn't arrive.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I mean, here's the thing with me on this, and this is like bottom line end of story. MJF has to be a heel. Like any attempt at all to like get him a run with a babyface Hurt Syndicate, I think is one of the worst calls that you can make if you're Tony Khan right now. Like you've seen it. This played out. This damn near killed your entire company when you tried to put MJF and be this like cutesy, funny babyface. Didn't work. Not even close. Not even kind of. And you put yourself on this path again if you give him like an actual run with babyface Hurt Syndicate here and do funny vignettes with them and be like, it just has all the makings of bad. So whatever you have to do to make sure that MJF turns on Hurt Syndicate and make sure that he's a heel coming out of next week, you do it, because I think it's a real bad sign if you give him any longer than like a week or two on this.
Yeah. Well, I think they have this signing, and that leads to a segment at the pay-per-view where this all comes to a head. So I would say don't expect full resolution on Wednesday.
Yeah, I'll give it to the pay-per-view. I think that's fine. As long as there's no run here, I'm good.
Yeah. I think like it's either what we're predicting-ish or like MJF's doing a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde style character where he's like a badass and a wife beater who hurts people, or he's like a scared little punk. And it's like depends on which week, which MJF you get. He's trying to do like a nuanced character in this in between time of being world champion. Yeah. So, we'll see.
All right, you guys, we are going to wrap it on up there. Thank you so much for joining the show. Really fun show. Really good to walk through Dynamite. I know there's some things we left off. Probably hit those in our member-only show, which we'll record and we'll drop later this week. I guess tomorrow or the weekend. So if you want to check that out, head over to patreon.com. Check out our membership tiers. It's patreon.com/BrassRingMedia. Thank you once again to our gold members, Adam Kidd, Sean Palikta, and Andrew H. We appreciate the support. And we thank you. Don't forget, Saturday morning, the Kick-Ash podcast is live right here on the Brass Ring Media YouTube channel. Check it out. If you're not able to catch it live, obviously you can catch the replay on the YouTube channel, but also you can download it. It's an audio podcast on whatever podcast app you have. Just search Brass Ring Media. Cool. Thank you, everybody, once again. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you real soon. See ya.